Goat grazing, it's really part of an old tradition of reducing fire hazard through animal grazing. The ways in which goats help forests become healthier isn't necessarily apparent just looking at it. You might see the ivy and think, but it's beautiful and it's green and that's what we want, isn't it? But what we want is more ferns, more native blackberry. We don't want the invasive species. The overall goal is to get plants back under the trees that are actually benefiting those trees, which then helps the trees have a longer lifespan, be less likely to fall in a windstorm, and be less likely to burn in a fire. Anybody want a snack? My name's Genevieve Church, and I'm the City Grazing Executive Director. We are a goat grazing nonprofit providing sustainable land management and fire hazard reduction all around the Bay Area. I grew up on a cattle ranch and I've worked with many different animals, but I hadn't done it professionally until I came to work for City Grazing. Our goats, many of them are retired dairy goats. So dairy goats have about a 5-year career as milkers, and then after that they can go literally out to pasture. So we take them in and help them learn how to graze for a living. If you let a goat go, it would choose to wander about and eat. First and foremost, we're thinking about safety and containment at any of our sites, whether that's acres or whether it's your 25 by 25 postage stamp backyard in San Francisco.
Go along, go along, go along, go along, move it, move it. My name is Judy B, and I'm the resident manager of this 21-unit apartment building near Alamo Square in San Francisco. The backyard has been overgrown with blackberry brambles. They keep getting bigger and bigger. I said, do you know about city grazing? The property manager found out that it was less than half the cost of hiring landscapers. And here they are. They started immediately. They got in the backyard and they were going after blackberries. The thorns mean nothing. They just munch, munch, munch.
Our goats are really used to this work. They're comfortable in the city, they're comfortable with barking dogs, they're used to the routine of going in and out of different spaces. All of that is part of safety. And then containment is all about fencing and making sure the goats are going to stay where they're at for their safety and also for your neighbors. We don't want your neighbors to wake up and find that goats are in their backyard eating their roses. Goats are really well designed to be on a steep hillside with their cloven hooves, so they're very good at this, whereas we've got to put on harnesses and have big machinery. If I take a weed eater to this surface, those plants are going to start to reemerge the very next day. But the action of the hooves in the urine suppresses a lot of that, especially for things like ivy and blackberry. We see a real reduction in how quickly it returns.
A few people have said that they think they're really cute. This one is Bick. The brown-headed one is Dipper. Hello, Dipper. How are you? Dipper is just very curious and wants to come up and say hello and get a head pat. Go on, go on, go on, go on, go on, go on. Go. Okay, go that way. That's a good choice too.
They're extremely social and they're very group-oriented, so they'll have a hierarchy. If we are taking a small group of goats to a backyard, we'll pick a social cohort that works well together. When we mix them all as the larger herd, we'll make sure it's a big enough space so that all those social dynamics can take place within it.
They're kooky and unusual, and they have no manners.
Contrary to popular mythology, goats cannot eat everything. They eat a lot. Goats have a really high need for minerals. So they're looking for plants with a high concentration of sodium, copper, and selenium. Blackberry is high on that list. Unfortunately, so are roses. here at UCSF Mount Sutro. Essentially, the goats are coming in to eat the invasive understory so that the Forest Service guys can get in and do some maintenance for some of the trees. Goats aid all of us in fire hazard reduction, most simply by taking away whatever's on the surface that would otherwise turn into dry fodder and tinder. When we do sustainable land management with goats, you're looking at that long-term conversion to healthier topsoil with more native species, and all of that slows the progress of an advancing fire. Goat grazing supports California native species in a couple of different ways. Fortuitously, goats do not like a lot of native California plants. They will go through an area like this, pick out the invasive Himalayan blackberry and eat all of it, but leave the native California blackberry. So the next year you see increased populations of California blackberry and decreased populations of Himalayan. Most people that have us come through are having it done in advance of putting in some landscaping, in which case goat poop is an amazing soil amendment. Immediately upon exit from the goats, leaving those nutrients there keeps the soil flora that much healthier. So their poop is a bioavailable part of the topsoil that breaks down almost immediately and helps to store more water in the soil. So those nutrients and that water gives us healthier trees. One of our best services is as ambassadors to this concept of working in harmony with the land. A lot of people feel like it's just my backyard, what does it matter? But it matters because all of this is interconnected underneath. Urban goat grazing can change the world by changing the way people think about their relationship with the planet.
Now that is ingenious, isn't it? You can scratch your own itch with your horn. When the goats are gone, I'm gonna feel a little bit of a loss because I go down 2 or 3 times a day to check and make sure they have water and just to say hi. It's been cool to have these other beings and their farmyard energy and to see nature at work.